going on, guys? It's Bruce Madsen, your host of the show, Metric Scout Fantasy Football, the thing that looks at fantasy football from all different angles. We talk about all the formats from redraft, dynasty, DFS. We go heavy in the rookie talk and everything in between. If that's something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, tell your homies. We all know NFL teams do some irrational things at times. It just happens, especially with every draft. They reach on players, they pass on players, and they do some head-scratching decisions. Even when we look at it years ago, we wonder what these teams are doing. In the third round, the Chargers selected Josh Palmer at 77 overall, who wasn't really projected to be a top 10 wide receiver at all, but he was drafted with top 100 draft capital. It was a surprise to most people, me too. I don't even have any content on the channel about him. That's how low he's been on the totem pole for me. But yet, the Chargers stepped up and made the pick. I've been spending some time trying to figure out why. I've been thinking about this. And the one thing that's been through my head that I can put a nail on is that this is a smaller wide receiver class. We do not have many wide receivers above 200 pounds. The last wide receiver who went off the board was Terrace Marshall. He was the first wide receiver selected that was well over 200. And after that, the dominoes started to fall. We started seeing Josh Palmer get drafted. We started seeing Des Fitzpatrick. We saw Nico Collins. And the bigger wide receivers, even though there was a few of them, and really, when you talk about them as a whole, there wasn't much talent in big wide receiver this year. There just wasn't. But there's a need for that. There's a need for bigger wide receivers to win at the catch point, to win at the end zone. Some coaching staff, some front offices have a thing for big wide receivers, bigger wide receivers. Josh Palmer, 6'1", 210 pounds, one of the few that's over 200 pounds. Once Terrace Marshall went off the board, that left them with just a few options, and they weren't having it with any of the other wide receivers. So they selected Josh Palmer. Was it a good idea? Was it a bad idea? We'll see in the future. Right now, it does not project to be a smart move. Looking at his career at Tennessee, he does not have a season with over 500 yards receiving. He doesn't have a season with 5 or more touchdowns. He has been very low volume when it comes to production. He hasn't broken out yet in college. He does not have a breakout age. He's a 20-year-old wide receiver. Athletic metrics are not bad, horrific, but they're not great either. 4.57 40-yard dash, lower percentile size adjusted speed score, limited burst, and that all shows on tape. The things that you are wanting more out of him when you watch him on tape is you want him faster off the line of scrimmage, you want him quicker out of his breaks, you want him to get downfield faster, you want him to be able to blow by the defense more often, and you do not see that. The good things you see on tape is good ball skills, good hands, him winning at contested catches. He's very good at winning at contested catches. That's where he wins at the most. When you're only winning at contested catches, that means you're not winning much by creating separation. Winning at the catch point is nice. It's a good thing. But creating separation is what gets you targets at the NFL level. That bumps you up the depth chart at the NFL level. And that's something he doesn't do. And he doesn't have the speed or the burst to be an after-the-catch guy. So this is more of a head-scratcher. When you think about his tape, you think about his athletic metrics, you think about his production metrics, and you put that all together, why he went to the third round. And when I pinpoint all these clues, the only thing that leaves me to be is size. 6'1", 210 pounds. That's a rarity in this class. Not the smartest move. Not the smartest move at all. You have better talents that got drafted after him. Dommy Brown, Nico Collins, Amari Rodgers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tylan Wallace. You have a list there. There's something about Josh Palmer that they liked. Moving on to fantasy football perspective, that's what this show is, but we had to put some rationale to this pick. To spin a positive light on this, the depth chart is promising for Palmer. He just has to play to his full potential. Like, if he plays to his max attributes, then he could be viable in fantasy. Maybe. It's doubtful, but he could be. The odds of him playing to his max potential isn't really that good because not all players do that. But we have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen slotted in as the wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. Keenan Allen's the alpha. He's never going to take that role away from him. Mike Williams, on the other hand, has had some injuries throughout his career. His contract is up at the end of this year. If Palmer can prove himself, if he can take advantage of his opportunities, because he will get opportunities as a third-round pick, they like something about him. They're going to give him a chance. And he can fend off these Jags or these prospects at the tail end of the roster. Some of these guys are just as talented, if more talented than him. Tyron Johnson, Jalen Guyton, Joe Reed, Kyle Spalding, KJ Hill, Jason Moore, John Hurst, and Eli Stove. Some of these guys are able to beat out Palmer. Probably a good bit of them. If everything clicks for Palmer and he's able to beat those guys out and prove himself in camp, get some good plays throughout the season, he could sneak into that wide receiver 2 spot. There's a chance for that. Is it likely? No. Are the Chargers likely to draft another wide receiver with even more draft capital next year? Yeah. Is there a chance that he could slide in there in 3 wide receiver sets? Yeah, there's a chance for that. The odds of him being a fantasy relevant asset are not good. The odds of him even being a consistent wide receiver 2 are not good. That's why he's falling in Dynasty rookie drafts. This has been called out from the rip since it was a head-scratching pick to begin with. Since it's 2021, we have more info, analysis, more metrics, more historical metrics to relate this pick to. The fantasy football industry was on this from the jump, knowing that Palmer is more likely not going to be a thing. The odds are stacked against him, and that's something you don't want to bet on. You don't want to bet on outliers. And if Palmer hits, he's an outlier. Outliers are nothing you want to bet on anyways. The odds of them becoming a thing is way outside of the spectrum and more likely not going to happen. I believe we have him evaluated appropriately. I'm not drafting him in any of my drafts. I don't believe he should either. I think he's a easy fade at this point. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And it's because he's an outlier. It's because this was not supposed to happen. There was no data whatsoever except for he's decent or good or a little bit above average playing above the rim. But outside of that, there's nothing really that pinpoints him to becoming a functional fantasy football asset. I can point more arrows towards Kadarius Toney than towards Josh Palmer, if that gives you a clue into my thought process to this. I want to thank you for watching the show. If you stuck around this long, you might as well hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, tell your homies, your people, your wife, your kids, I'm on a roll, and I'll catch you next time.